Being a part of the generation that was supposed to end smoking, like cigarettes and tobacco, ended up turning us into the generation that evolved nicotine addictions to a whole new level. And I can't lie, nicotine got me, and it might be the perfect addiction to get most people. Because unlike other addictions, like the bad ones, this one is completely normalized in today's world. People are constantly hitting it in their car, at work, or some people even at school. And I ended up getting hooked on Nick at about 15 years old while I was in school myself. At the time, I used to think it was so cool to be using nicotine and smoking on vapes, but I was so much more than just wrong. Remembering back on it, it was so cringe on how I used to think those vape trick compilations were cool. I remember the first time I even got a vape. I went all the way across town with a buddy, and we stopped at some old vape shop that had just opened but had horrible like walls, you know the kind where it's got like stains running down it. They haven't cleaned the floor so it's sticky. Nothing's actually taken care of. But there's glass everywhere and they have lights beaming down on these insane box mods and all these different coils and juices that are written on like a chalkboard, and there's just an old dude sitting behind the counter staring at me and my boy. Well, anyways, we ended up actually buying it because he didn't ID us at the time. I guess it wasn't a big deal for what we were doing in that area since it was kind of a sketchier part of town. But for just about like $45, me and my boy got a stick vape, and it was supposedly 0% nicotine that we got because I think the dude had an idea that we weren't of age at the time, but he definitely mixed it with something because we did not get 0%. That was far from what we got. My buddy and I rode around town and then into some back roads for like 3 hours, just ripping on some Hawaiian coconut ice and getting a head change like never before. Well, after doing that for a while, we both started to get really tired because I remember mentioning to him that I felt like I was going to fall asleep if we did not go home right now. And by the time I ended up getting home, I hit the bed and I remember the worst headache and stomach cramps of my life. I didn't think anything of it at the time, and that didn't even stop my addiction. That just started it from that point on. I kept ripping that devil juice like it was a necessity to my life. And this was the time before Juul even started popping off. And let me tell you, when my friends and I got a hold of a Juul pod, it was over. We had every flavor you could possibly imagine at the time, like mango, there was creme brulee that a lot of people messed with, and mint was a common one. But holy crap, that was the most normalized thing inside of the school that I was at. It was almost like people were selling that instead of candy, or ripping that instead of, talking to each other on a normal basis. There were people that wouldn't even look in my direction, that I would end up hearing in the bathroom asking me if I had a jewel pod, and they didn't even know that I was in the stall literally just taking a crap during like some class I didn't want to be in so I could just waste time and get out of it faster. But that's how bad this addiction got for people my age and the people I was around so fast. There were people literally who didn't care if they got in trouble, got caught, or if like a teacher or superintendent, or horribly even worse, like the freaking principal walked in and somebody's puffing on one of these cloud sticks just trying to make a cool trick in the bathroom. That was the dumbest thing ever, but people were just so caught up into that buzz that they actually had no regards of any sort of like punishment that could have followed. And I'm one to believe that this was literally the goal for a lot of these big companies when it comes to nicotine products, was to focus on targeting their audience at younger generations like ours. One of the biggest issues with it is that It literally is just socially acceptable for people to be addicted to this sort of drug and not even see it as that. People see it as a way to escape stress, or some people use it to suppress hunger, which is another crazy thing to me because you would rather not nourish yourself to have a 10-second head change is just mind blowing to me. But the worst part about it is that nicotine literally rewires your reward system, leading to dopamine death, meaning that you won't be as happy when you don't have it, which is one thing, or even just being tired all the time because it's in your system in another sense. And I don't know about you, but I didn't feel like continuing being in a neurochemical slavery type sense or era of my life for any longer. So I completely just cold turkeyed quit, drank water, drank Gatorade, some sort of like flavored substance that would completely take my mind away from it, as well as working out to be able to build like a natural dopamine hit for my body so I didn't have to use some sort of synthetic drug to gain that access. When I started realizing that I had a real nicotine addiction, it was really when I started waking up in the middle of the night, not to get up and use the bathroom, not to get a drink because my throat was dry, but to reach over to some Geek Bar or Elf Bar and take a massive rip just to turn back over and blow smoke out and think that that was some sort of normal thing for me. It definitely wasn't, and it isn't for anybody else either. The scariest part about quitting is when you are addicted, that's when you start to realize you're addicted, is when you try to quit and realize how difficult it is to actually not pick up the pen or pick up the whatever you're using for the device of smoking on a vape and actually just quitting, just completely dropping it and not doing it anymore. And if I could literally add up all the amount of money that I've spent on this sort of thing, I would have saved thousands of dollars. And I just completely wasted all of it, just flushed it down the drain by buying a whole bunch of nicotine products that I normally didn't even enjoy, or that I would smoke on like halfway and throw it away and just waste all of it. Now, I definitely didn't do that with like my OG mango jewel pods. I would drive hours away just to be able to get those when they were getting banned, just so that I could find my inventory supplier of any mango jewel pods at the time that some random gas station in another state sold, just to have my hands on that. And that's where my degen ass was stuck in, was I need this. And it definitely was no necessity of mine, but I treated it as if it was. And I'm some believer in that. I think it is insane that they made it to where we can't have an American made product like Jewel Pods in this country that is, available in the flavors that we had it in. But we're able to have some shipped across the entire world, Chinese marketed like vape that we have no idea what is actually being put inside of it. But we're sitting here and letting that be sold in like blueberry coconut ice or some mango drizzle of some ice cream or something flavor. The insane stuff. And we're able to smoke on that, but we stopped getting the accessibility to the other flavors. But I digress. I remember literally losing friendships at the time of like high school buddies that I had known for like years upon years because they literally just were in some sort of like psycho mode of needing to like nicotine max their lifestyle into just wanting to fight me or just accusing me of things because they felt that they were not getting a real friendship out of me when they were actually just trying to, hey, could I hit your vape, bro? And it was like I didn't even know these people anymore. They just were so addicted to this stuff that they literally changed their entire mindset of being a happy person into being just a hateful jerk, into wanting some sort of drug or trying to gain or benefit off of me because I had some sort of pen of magical feelings for them. And I just find that absolutely insane that we let our society fall into this pattern and that so many people have fell into this exact same trap that is so easily avoidable. And when I was addicted to it into turning into the person that I am today by learning that I needed to quit this problem after all that I had been through and experienced with it, I realized that I was no longer even choosing nicotine. It was literally choosing me, and I had no idea that it was actually in such a control of my life that I couldn't do anything except for continue with my horrible habits or just drop it, quit, and be the bigger and better person from it. And honestly, it wasn't even just about quitting nicotine alone. It was about realizing how easy it is to give in to your own control in your life, to your habits that you find comfort in. And most addictions don't just start because people want to destroy their lives. They start because people want relief, whether it's for social acceptance or just from a stress level that you can't control or find the meaning to that you really just want to escape from. And that's why discipline matters so much. That's why I'm preaching it here on this channel. And getting out of the whole trap, whether it be from some sort of drug, nicotine, or just a bad habit, whenever you just tell yourself, I'll quit later, or I'm stressed, maybe one more, or I need it to focus, you're just lying to yourself. You can quit, better your life, and make better choices that are going to make a way more impactful outcome to yourself and whatever it is that you're trying to focus on. And you will not look back. I promise you. I haven't. And I appreciate all the support, love, and comments that you guys have been providing, whether it be on your own account or just in a realization or common, feeling or same situations that you guys are going through close to mine. I love all of you guys, and I really hope you find some sort of, not necessarily cope with this video, but some sort of closure that, you're not in this alone, and I hope that you have someone there or just a mindset like mine to where you can take control of yourself and you can control the situation that you're trying to put yourself in. Now let's rewire our own dopamine systems and dependency loops on better things for ourselves. And I hope you guys can find that exact same thing in, working out, drinking water, or bettering your life in any other way possible, like I've been talking about here on this channel. And if you do appreciate and enjoy the content, go ahead and leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one.